Hello and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. If you are new to this channel, my name is Frank Zhu and I'm a college professor teaching sociology, history and philosophy. I'm also an award-winning landscape photographer. If you have followed me on this channel for a while, you know that I have made quite a number of philosophy videos. In those videos, I introduced and explained great philosophers, or great philosophical theories, or I raised philosophical questions and then attempted to present different answers, including my own. The purpose of making those videos is not to provide a definite answer, because there is no definite answer to any philosophical question, but to raise your awareness of the importance of the questions and encourage you to think about them, as I do in my philosophy classes. It is always my belief, as a philosophy professor, that philosophical thinking makes people more rational, analytical, logical, critical, and rhetorical. To put it simply, philosophical thinking helps people become better individuals and make them more intelligent. However, there is more to philosophy. Philosophy extends far beyond individual self-improvement. Philosophy can also help you better understand the world around you. For example, it helps you understand how society is organized and how government plays its role in society. And that is what I'm going to discuss in today's video. In other words, I'm going to introduce and explain a branch of philosophy called social and political philosophy. Broadly speaking, social and political philosophy explores how societies and political systems should be organized. In essence, it deals with three kinds of relationships: the social relationships among people, the relationships between individuals and the state, and the relationships between sovereign states. Now, you may think that those relationships can be studied in social sciences such as sociology. But sociology is descriptive in nature, meaning it describes and explains what there is and what it is. Social and political philosophy, on the other hand, is normative in nature, meaning that it doesn't merely study society in an empirical way or attempt to explain what kind of society it is. Instead, it is more concerned with normative questions about the nature of the state and how society should be organized and how government should exercise its control over its people. The social and political philosopher asks evaluative questions with regard to the ideal type of society. By evaluative questions, I'm referring to those questions which require judgment or assessment of something, such as opinions or evidence. More specifically, the social and political philosopher is interested in asking questions about society and its political system and try to come up with answers and theories. I have said this before and let me say it again. Doing philosophy is basically a process of asking big questions and attempting to answer those questions. Social and political philosophy is no exception. The questions include: what makes up our social world? How is the government justified? What constitutes a just society? How do conflicts arise among different groups of people? How can society improve? In the history of philosophy, a variety of theories have been put forward by great philosophers such as conflict theory by Karl Marx and functionalism by Emil Durkheim. Social and political philosophy also considers questions about the state. For example, what are the reasons that we need a state? If the state is necessary, what kind of state should it be? A monarchy, a dictatorship, an aristocracy, or a democracy? Is there a system that is universally beneficial to all people in the world? If democracy is chosen, should there be different branches of government? What power and how much power should government have over its people? Why do some governments have more power than others? In history, philosophers such as Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, John Stuart Mill, and many others proposed many famous theories, some of which have been put in practice. The social contract theory by Thomas Hobbes, for example, held that government was created as a result of a contract among people. Under such a system, government is obliged to protect people, who in turn are obliged to comply with government orders and, if necessary, abolish the government and create a new one. In addition to questions about different aspects of society and government, social and political philosophy also deals with questions about individuals. Such questions include: does the ordinary citizen have any duty or responsibility to obey the authority of the state? If so, why? And how do you convince the ordinary citizen? Who should create laws? Do citizens have to abide by all laws? Should they or can they be allowed to rebel against what they think unjust laws? Is the so-called civil disobedience justifiable? Should its citizens be allowed to have freedom? If so, how much? If not, why? Many philosophers have become well known for their theories about individual rights versus government authority. For example, Henry David Thoreau, whom I talked about in one of my videos, was famous for his theory known as civil disobedience, which was put to practice by many famous civil rights movement leaders, such as Martin Luther King in America in the 1950s and 60s. As to relations among states, there are fundamental questions as well. How should each state interact with one another? Is it permissible for one state to interfere directly with another state without the other's permission, such as declaring war on the other? If yes, who should ultimately give permission? The social political philosopher considers whether any war can be justified, and if so, what are the conditions in which such war is justifiable? There are also questions about whether one state should help another state which suffers from natural disasters. Is a state morally obliged to provide such help, or is it because it is nice for the state to do so? In answering those questions about society, government, interstate relationships, etc., the social political philosopher tries to explain and clarify some fundamental concepts, such as freedom, equality, justice, human rights, and so on and so forth. When explaining those concepts, more questions are raised. For example, does equality mean everyone should have the same share of everything? What about freedom? Does it mean that everyone should be free to do whatever he or she chooses? Or does it mean everyone should be free to get his or her share? In what way should society punish wrongdoers? Can punishment rectify the wrongdoing? And so on, and so forth. To sum up, when you try to answer the questions that I mentioned above, you are doing social and political philosophy. It is an important branch of philosophy because it helps us understand how and why societies are formed and how political institutions operate. With a good understanding, we will be better equipped to see social problems so that we can have better solutions. Well, I think that is all for today's video. As always, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.